Hey there, astronomy. We are starting with chapter 4, so this is 4.1. It's going through the history of astronomy, and I really wish I had some really cool music playing right now. It would really set the mood, but unfortunately we don't, so let's just go. All right, so astronomy started way back when, before any written record was taken down, and we called that archaeoastronomy. And that would start with something such as Stonehenge back in southern England, or Newgrange, which is a 5,000-year-old grave in Ireland, and maybe even the Temple of Isis, which is a 2,000-year-old temple in Egypt. And all of these were built off of the patterns of the sun and the cycles of the sun over, they had to watch this, not just the sun, but the moon and all the constellations and the stars. And they had to watch all these for years and years and years in order to, centuries, just to see the patterns that were developing. Well, maybe not centuries, but they had to watch it for a while to see the patterns that were developing so that they could build these. They're all built, structured so that, like on Stonehenge, there's a place where the sun on the summer solstice rises in the certain grid, and the 5,000-year-old grave in Ireland is set up so that it's I think the graves, a lot of times when they do the graves for the Aztecs and the Mayans, they would do it where the sun would rise at the feet of the grave. And so all of this was done because people studied, because they studied astronomy. They didn't realize they were studying astronomy, but they studied astronomy. All right, so what's so important about it? Well, it was done, but there was no written record of the intentions for those structures. So we don't really know what the intention behind it was, but we do see the connection between the cycles of the sun and the moon and the structures that are there. All right, so what are the contributors to astronomy? I'm going to go through this. This will be a very brief history on the contributors of astronomy, and I mean very brief. I'm just going to give you their names and their basics, and then you guys are going to actually present us with more of the story on them as a project that we'll do. All right, so first, back in Greek, we had Thales of Miletus, and he is the first person to say that, hey guys, guess what? We can understand this universe thing. It's not just a mystery. That's pretty cool. So he set the wheels in motion. Then Pythagoras, who's mostly known probably for trigonometry, he's the one that set up a geometrical and mathematical relationship between all of the bodies in the universe. Okay, so you can thank him for all this math. All right, and then Anaximander, he came up and he said, let's say that the universe, this big universe, is made of wheels, and these wheels are filled with fire. Okay, and the fire would not necessarily be the sun, though. He's just thinking that they're made of wheels, and wheels are filled with fire. Sun and moon are holes in those wheels, and the flames can be seen from those. Philolaus, he said that the earth moves around a circular path around a central fire, but that central fire is not the sun. He said that the sun actually, when it went down, for nighttime, it was hidden by a counter earth. It was located between the fire and the earth. So he's the first one that came up with a theory of the earth actually being in motion. All right, then Plato, he said that the earth and other heavenly bodies were spheres because a sphere is the most perfect geometrical form. And so he said that the perfect havens made of spheres, the heaven and the earth, were rotating at constant rates around, and they were carrying objects in circles. So this led to a principle of uniform circular motion, saying that everything was moving in perfect spheres. All right, Exodus of Cnidus, he is the one that gave a mathematical description of the universe. Now, we had mathematical relationships with Pythagoras, but now we're getting a mathematical description of the universe. So he took Pythagoras's work and started doing more. He actually said that there were 27 nested spheres rotating at different rates around different axes at constant rates. Yeah, is your head spinning yet? I know. All right, let's get to a name we all know, more familiar with. Aristotle. We know Aristotle. We've heard of him in every single subject. Well, guess what? Here he is in astronomy too. And he's the one that came up with the idea of the geocentric universe. Geocentric. Earth is the center of the universe. So he pretty much said that the Earth is the center and everything else floats around us. All right, Aristarchus, who was around about that time, said that, hey, guess what? The Earth is rotating as well, but the Earth is not the center. He says maybe it's going around the sun, but we're not sure yet. Okay, so here comes... I'm not sure how to say his name, so I'm going to mess it up. I'm not going to say it. But he actually is the first person to calculate the Earth's radius. And we'll talk about how in class. All right. Hipparchus, he's the first person to ever compile a star catalog. So he got together and put all of the catalogs into, or all the stars into a catalog together. He also is the discoverer of trigonometry and precession, and he says that the sun and the moon traveled around circles with the earth near but not at the center of those circles. All right, Claudius Ptolemaeus, he is the first person to predict the position of the planets. He used Aristotle's work and transformed it into a mathematical model of the universe and said that the planets move in small circles. The Earth is slightly off center. He did kind of predict the speed of the planets, but his prediction proved to be slightly off as the centuries passed. Okay, so then we have Nicholas Copernicus, and Copernicus is the one who came along and said, hey guys, guess what? We're not the center of the universe. It is a heliocentric universe, which means helio, it's the sun. So we're floating around the sun, and the sun is the center of our universe. Okay, so we still haven't gotten out of the solar system just yet. All right, Galileo came along as well after that, and he did several discoveries and published a book, and this book made him pretty famous. But in the book he had 3 observations, and the first one is he said the moon is not perfect because he was able to discover, he looked at the moon with a telescope. Did he discover the telescope? No. But he looked at the moon and he noticed that it had craters and mountain ranges, and it was not a perfect circle. He also said that the Milky Way is made up of stars that are too faint to see, which means that we're part of something that's way bigger. And he is also credited with seeing the moons of Jupiter that were floating around Jupiter. All right. Tycho Brahe he came along and found errors in the work of Aristotle and Copernicus and said, hey guys, you guys are wrong. And then Johann Kepler solved the puzzle of planetary motion and came up with 3 laws for planetary motion. And we will talk about those in class as well. So, like I said, very brief history of astronomy. Here's something to leave you with. Hopefully it puts a smile on your face, and I will see you in class.